when you force your mind and the day you let go of that force, you've given your mind an amazing opportunity to come in and say, I told you so. And that is when hell can break loose. If you give your mind, if you've been shutting your subconscious up and you give it the opportunity to come back and say, I told you so, that is a tough battle to win back on.
This is The Fighting Entrepreneur, the podcast dedicated to entrepreneurs looking to change the world. Learn how to start, build, and scale a business in today's highly competitive business environment. Here's your host, The Fighting Entrepreneur, Anik Singal.
Welcome, guys, to Future of Wealth Live. I'm so glad you're here. How do you guys feel? Yeah? All right. Look, here's one thing I always say. I am a speaker who literally feasts off of your energy. So the more energy I get, the more response I get, the more active I am. I absolutely love hearing energy. So we're going to do it one more time, and that's what the energy level we're going to keep through the whole event, all right? So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're going to scream and just go crazy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Very nice. Thank you. See, it wakes me up. So we have an absolutely amazing event for you. For those of you who don't know, I have not done an event of my own for closing in on 6 years now. And we used to do a few events before, and then obviously you know the story, right? The business took a big bad turn, and there was a lot of personal things I went through. So during that time, we weren't really focusing on events. And today, we've decided to do this event again because it just gives me an opportunity to really bring the best of the best from all over the world to you, to your doorstep, and to be able to deliver to you the best we've got, and for me to chance to meet you, and for you to meet my team and everybody. So it's an honor to have you here, and I know that a lot of you have traveled from great distance. So how many of you have come here internationally? Just raise your hand real quick. Oh, a bunch. Shout out the countries real quick. Canada? Switzerland? South Africa? Israel? Poland? Holland. Amsterdam. Anyone else? Ireland, yes. Dubai. Can you believe that? People have taken ridiculous flights. Let's give them a round of applause. That's quite a commitment. I appreciate it. And how many of you are from the East Coast? No, see, if you're going to give me energy, then you go all the way, or you don't. So let's try it again. How many of you are from the East Coast? West Coast? Yeah. You had it hard. That was going to be a tough battle to win. So we've got speakers. I'm going to be presenting. I think one thing you're going to learn about me is this is about as professional as you're ever going to see me. I had to put a suit on because I was told that, that's the right way to. I'm not wearing a suit after this event. Do I have your permission to get rid of this thing starting tomorrow, please? I'm so uncomfortable right now. What? Well, thank you. I mean, I look good always, but I don't need a suit for that. So, and on top of that, I run my events very differently. We try to stay on time and all of those things, but we're here for you. This isn't my event. It's your event. Okay? So as much as we can to help you, as much as we can do, we are here for you. All right? And I want you guys to really get a chance to feel that. There are a swarm of people around with black t-shirts on that says VSS Mind on them. They're here to help you. They're my team. They are brilliant. They are amazing. They're the reason I stand up here. Okay? Without them, there's nothing I could be doing. Someone was recently asking me, Anik, how do you do so many projects and so many different things at the same time? It's because of them. Right? So we're here for you. We're here to help you. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers. Once you start seeing them, you'll see how open they are and how amazing they are, and you can talk to them. So really make this weekend about you. I have one request before we carry forward, and it's more of a command and a demand than it is a request. Here it is. Take action, please, because we get wrapped up in studying, learning, reading, watching, webinars. We do all of it, right? And we keep doing it. And we keep doing it, and we keep doing it. Be honest right now. How many of you are a little bit guilty of that? Raise your hands nice and high. Be proud of it. It's okay. I did it for a long time too. okay? And I was saying this earlier, and I'll say this again. I get students to come to me all the time in the internet marketing world, and they'll say, Anik, I've been studying, and I've been trying, and I've been working, and nothing is working for me. I've been struggling for so long, and I ask them one question: show me your website. And the answer I get is, well, so here's the funny thing that happened, and this and that, and there is no website, right? In the world of personal development, I'll say something like, they'll tell me everything that's going wrong, and I'll ask them, tell me one thing you've done different today to change it. Nothing. Dead silent. So I'm so happy you're here, and I hope you come to the next one, and the one after that, and the one after that. I love seeing you. But if you don't leave here and take action, then it's a waste of your time and your energy, not mine. I love being here. I love you guys being here. But I want to see some growth. I want to see some changes. Lately and recently, I've had the pleasure of working very closely with a small group of students who are sitting up here. You'll see them in red shirts. And I have seen their lives transforming. I've seen their businesses transforming. I've seen them as people transforming. And that is my gift. I love that. I was joking earlier, they were speaking, and I felt like a proud father with a smile from ear to ear because they were talking my language. They were talking about numbers and this and that because they took action. So no matter what you do, okay, even if you only grasp half of what you learn here, but go home and do something about it. Go do something different. Go put it into action. Get your hands dirty. Make mistakes. It's okay. Fall. Fall flat on your face. Fail. Okay? I cannot even tell you how many times I've failed. I fail at least 5 times to 10 times as many times as I do succeed. It's just you only see and hear the successes. Right? I don't remember the exact quote. I wish I had it on me. Michael Jordan talked about all the shots he's missed, all the games he's lost, all the championships he's screwed up. He wasn't even meant to be a basketball player. He was rejected from a high school team. Yet he's Michael Jordan. Right? You don't get there without falling. You learn to ride a bike. You learn to walk. You learn to run. You did it then. Why can't you do it now? So let yourself fall. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid of it. We're going to talk about all of this, and you're going to walk away here with a great support group to push you through it. All I ask from you is that you dedicate yourself and you do what we share. All right? So is that a deal? Yes. One more time. Is that a deal? Yes. All right. That's what I like to hear. There's, my story, I share a lot of times I've shared a lot of times. I've told you a lot about myself, the bad days, the good days, and I've talked a lot about the bad days. The reason I talk so much about the bad days is because the bad days are so important, right? To who you become, to who I am today, and to all the possibilities, the bad days are so important. But at the same time, one of the things that Bob really spoke about that I think sometimes I forget to talk enough about is that during those bad days, your chances of getting through it strongly, powerfully, and successfully depends so much on the structure you have around you, the people around you, the environment around you, and they can make or break you. I'm telling you right now, the people in your life that surround you can make or break you. And one thing that I have been truly blessed, that I cannot say I have earned or I have built or I have had any role in, is having a support structure around me that is rock solid. Having people that literally will do anything for me. And so I'm about to do something else today that I've never had the opportunity to do before, and I'm totally going to get my butt kicked for this later on. I already know that. But I have the pleasure of saying that my parents are in this room right now, and they're in the back. And I just want them to stand up for a second, and I just want to thank them for having been just amazing parents. And for the next one, I'm really going to get my butt kicked. I had someone who really, during my tough days, during my really hard days, there was a ear that was always available, and that is of my today wife, Andrea. She's in the back and smiling in the back. And, without them, without my friends, and without a lot of the affiliates in the back that are there, I wouldn't have the opportunity to stand in front of you today. I shared with some of you, Mark Ling is someone who's been such a close friend of mine for many years. Well, during the time that I was in debt, and I'll share more about my debt and what happened, but during that time, he was one of the affiliates who I owed a lot of money to. And to just see the understanding, and when I shared with him my problems and the fact that there was no push, there was no, this fact, he still supported me. He still promoted for me when I still owed him a lot of money. And it takes a very amazing type of person to do something like that. And so that was the type of people I had around me. I was in such a bad way at one point that so what happened is in my company, I had a huge burn rate. I had this massive expenses, and it was my first time being a CEO. I didn't really understand that, hey, I should cut back, I should really readjust for what's happening in the business. And there was a bit of an ego. You've got a golden touch. And so I was running dry. I had lost all my money, and I was starting to fall into debt. And there was a day I was sitting, and this is what I'm talking about when you surround yourself. I mean, I still think about this day, and I'm shocked, and I'm amazed, and I'm still just as, thankful and grateful. But I was sitting at my parents' kitchen table. I still remember I was rubbing my head, and I had gotten an email. There was a large sum of money that needed to be wired into the company account, or else payroll would be missed for the first time. And that, for me, was one of those things I just could not digest. So, the whole time, as many 1.7 million in debt that I went into, but during that time, no matter what the payroll was, we never missed it even once. Because there was something I believed hard in, and that was never let anyone else, especially my team, suffer for it. But that was the one day I saw it slipping right before my eyes, and I knew that within a day or two, I wasn't going to be able to make this. It was a large sum of money, 6 figures that had to go to pay for a lot of expenses. And that was the day that my dad literally rolled a checkbook in front of my face and said, "Write whatever you want, sign it." And it wasn't money that he had; it was debt that he would take to facilitate my debt. And I didn't have a choice at that time. And he did that. And that was one of those things also that keeps you going, right? So when the times get tough, those are the things you can't let those people down. You can't let that person down. And that really pushed me through to the other side. But one of the things we're going to talk about is the fact that you need that support structure. You need that group. That's why I started this event by saying, we are here for you. Because I understand how absolutely invaluable how valuable it is to have that support structure around you. So that's what this event is about. It's about, I would love for you guys to meet each other. Please take time, shake hands, share emails, share information, and be there for one another, because that's what's going to get you through not only the good days, but the bad days. And the bad days will come. They always come. Okay? They always come. They're always there. It's just, are you ready for them, and are you properly ready for them? I printed up these, so there was something interesting that I have. I'm not much of a guy to really talk about and show like income proofs and all, but when Bob was talking, I was sitting in the back, and I went and I pulled up some of these things because he said a few things that really resonated. He said, you can make more while you're sleeping than you can spend while you're awake. He talked about multiple, sources of income, which I've heard him talk about for years, and it's transformed my life. And I started looking at my business, and I started laughing, and I was just looking at the last few months, and if we could show my screen, if that's possible. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but today, in just one of the programs that I have, over $18,000 was generated in sales, in one of the programs, in one of the accounts. And am I saying this to brag? I'm not. It's because I've been here the whole day. I haven't been able to work, the traditional sense, as you would say. This month, in one account that I've not even logged in until today, because I wanted to take this picture for you, there's $23,000 in residual income that was earned. There was, I'll show you another one it's really cool. This was done in about a period of a month and a half, but actually it came from 1 week's worth of promotions using email marketing. So again, using the internet, stuff that I'll talk more about. I know Mark Ling's going to be talking more about. It was over $800,000 generated. This is just one of my months and multiple programs that we have online, anywhere from $179,000 to $319,000 to, some that, I sold one at $37. But this is all stuff that's automated. And I'm not sharing this with anybody to brag or to boast or any of that. What I'm doing is saying that I have been in front of you, live proof. For those of you who are in the VIP group, we were together between 1 and 5. I have not touched my computer. My team is here. All of them. They've not been working. So you can't even say that there's someone behind the scenes that's working, right? It's been automated. And that's why I always talk about the internet is a great tool. I've had many days where I go to sleep and wake up with a ton of money that I made overnight because of an email I sent out that was still driving residual clicks. That's why I'm so big about email marketing, hence Inbox Blueprint. So I do want to, anything is possible. Bob shared with you the fact that you are what you believe. And for me, that is it's so true that it's almost obnoxious. Let me share one story with you it's comical, but it's very true. I read an article in Business Week magazine years ago, maybe about 12 years ago or 10 years ago, I don't remember. It was in, not Business Week, sorry, Business 2.0, one of my favorite magazines at that time, and it was about Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is a self-made billionaire, and they did an article about him, and at the very end of the article, they gave an email address, and they said, if you email Mark, he emails you back. And I thought to myself, what rubbish. This guy's a billionaire. Why the heck would he email me back? Well, I was like, I'll take you up on it. So I sent him an email, right? And I emailed him, and I said, I still remember the email. Mark, big fan, follow you, and one question for you, please. I'm a budding entrepreneur. I want what you have. I want to be a billionaire. I want to change the world. I'm working on 5 projects right now. What's your number one piece of advice for me? This guy responds, hey kid, on a flight, have to keep it short. He was on a flight to a game. My best advice to you is drop 4 and focus on 1. Some of you have already heard the story, but the rest of you, this is what my mind said to that email, because I thought it was rubbish, and I thought, what a bunch of BS. You work on like 15 companies, and you're telling me to drop 4? And the next part, you're going to laugh. I genuinely believed that the man was intimidated by me. You don't want me to be successful. You don't want me to have 5 big companies because I'll come and compete with you one day. I'm sitting in the college dorm room in my pajamas, in a boxers, barely looking for food to buy Coke down from the vending machine, and here I am thoroughly convinced that Mark Cuban is intimidated by me. But do you see the mind behind that? Do you see the power of the assumption? Okay, there's another thing I used to do. I used to have this argument with one of my best friends from growing up, and I couldn't fathom the thought. I was, excuse my language, disgusted by the thought that I would graduate to make $35,000 a year. It didn't register. It was just like, what? No, that's not how it works. That sounds horrible. And so we were in college, we were in high school, and my friend was like, man, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to get a degree in finance, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to da-da-da-da. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know, make $100,000 a year? And he's like, you know what? I was like, dude, I was like, oh, what are you going to make? Like, as a finance major, you're going to make this much. And the guy my friend got upset and angry. So who do you think you are? What do you think you are? The system says we do this. Everybody makes 30. If you're lucky to get a $35,000 a year job, you're lucky to this. You're lucky for that. How can you talk like this? Blah, blah. You don't even have a plan. You're talking out of your... And he went off on me. And I stayed there, and I was very cool and calm, and I just stayed there looking at him. And when he got done, I was like, he's like, so what? And I was like, I don't know. You go make 35, I'm making 100. I mean, it was like as if everything he had said was a total waste of time. And I just didn't care, and it just didn't register. And as we're going through college, I was not quite positioned to be making 100. It was already end of sophomore year, and my friend's like, yeah, see, what? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna make 100. And he was like, you've lost it. Well, guess what? Next year, I started my internet business. I started some other things. When I graduated, I had 3 job offers waiting for me that were like New York, investment banking. Each of those 3 jobs, by the way, I probably would have made more than $100,000 at the jobs with my bonuses included, but I was already making over $350,000 a year my senior year of college. And so, thank you. So this concept of what do you believe about yourself, and it's hard because I can't teach you to assume, right? I can tell you, but you've got to learn to believe so that the subconscious voice itself is going to stop negating you. And that's what Future of Wealth is about. In the course, we have done practical strategies, and I've created ways for you to stop trying to trick. Okay, stop trying to trick your conscious or subconscious mind. A lot of what we learn is basically tricking. Okay? So right now you're like, I am wealthy. And there's a part of your mind that says, really, dude? Have you seen your car? And you're like, no, I am wealthy. Really? Look at your clothes. And it's like, no, I am wealthy. Have you seen your bank account, you idiot? That voice, if you keep telling it you're wealthy and you keep beating it down and beating it down and beating it down, eventually it is going to subside. Okay? It's going to say, fine, you're irritating and you're frustrating. I am willing to concede with you. But there's going to be a day, and it's inevitable, something is going to happen. Some mistake, some problem, something you're going to do, and it's going to leave an opening, and you will stop. You'll basically, let's say you've got a box. Okay, your mind's in it, and you're sitting on top of the box. It's covered, and you're sitting on it. You're just slamming it every day. Like, no, I'm wealthy. No, I'm wealthy, and I'm wealthy, and the mind's sitting in there like, oh, fine. One of these days, you're going to get up to go pee, and that mind's going to spring right out and be like, ha-ha! No, you're not. Something bad is going to happen, and the whole thing will foil. That is what happened in my life. So the methodology I've created are just practical strategies. There are things you use to communicate with your mind. There are things you use to communicate with your subconscious, and do it in a way that your subconscious is not fighting you. It kind of actually says, oh, all right. One of the key things we do throughout the whole system is what Bob spoke about. We break big things down to tiny things. I was smiling ear to ear when he was talking about breaking. You know, I always I talk to students a lot, and I'll say, the common answer, what do you want to make? 6 figures a year. Okay, you want to make $10,000 a month? Yes. All right, and then when I ask them how, they think, oh. And when I break it down, and it comes out to like some $300 a day, and which breaks down even further to, I'm forgetting the number, but it's like not very much per hour. And all of a sudden they're like, well, I can do that. I'm like, well, that's all you need to do in order to hit, 6 figures a year. So breaking things down is a big part of being able to work with your subconscious mind. All right, there we go. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and I know we're running a little behind, so I'm going to try to go through this quickly, but the power of being specific. Bob asked a question here, and then he probed about it. He said, how much would this kind of information be worth to you? And the answer was, a lot. Well, I don't know what a lot is. What's a lot? That's the kind of answers we give to our mind all the time. And your mind doesn't know what that is. It just doesn't know. The power of being specific is absolutely enormous. It can wipe out half the battle just by learning how to voice what it is you specifically want, right? Just think in your relationship. I tease my wife all the time. I'm like, could you just tell me what you want? And she's like, no, I don't know. I said, it'd just make my life easier, it'd make your life easier, you'd get what you want, I'd get what, you'd just be done with it, right? But that happens in everything in our lives. In every single thing, we are that way. Bob said, we would rather die than think. That is so true. If I came up to some of you guys right now and said, what is the dream you are currently working on? I won't put anyone on the spot. Can you take a second and think to yourself, do you have an answer? What dream are you currently working on? We'll leave it at that. If that answer wasn't bam, I'll tell you, today I purchased my dream car that has been on my dream board for over 8 years. Thank you. Yes, and I made it happen. It wasn't easy. So, but the person came to this hotel. They went up to my room, and I signed the documents at 10 a.m. in the morning. And one of my dreams is now done, and my next dream has started. All right? My next dream is, I've had this on my dream board for a long time. I want to get a pilot's license. Why? I don't know. I just like planes. I want to be able to fly one. So in August, I'm going to start. So it's like, all right, check mark. I got that plan for it. What's next? It's like a systematic flow. My mind always knows what it should be focusing on and where it should be focusing on attracting. So I always say, life number one, I'm going to go through my story really quickly. I don't want to spend too much. It started in high school. I dove into personal development. You can hand me a novel, and I challenge you to get me to read it. I will run circles around you. I will make excuses. I will jump off a cliff. I will not read a novel. You hand me a book about personal development, I will push you out of the way, go nuzzle in the corner, and read the whole thing. All right, I love them, and I've been reading them since I was a kid. I always knew there's something in me, I don't know where it came from, but I always knew that there's a massive connection between your mind and your success. I just knew it, and I can't tell you from where. I spent hours studying the most successful entrepreneurs. I was addicted to reading success stories. All right, Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, all these guys. I still do everything about them. All right, Warren Buffett. I mean, a lot of these people I've had, by the way, a chance to meet now face to face. And then college came, and as college approached, in my family, there is a tradition of, at that time, you become either a doctor or you become an engineer. Everyone in my family is that. I grew up idolizing one of my cousins who is a doctor because when he became a doctor, his dad bought him a BMW M3. I thought, man, that is the shit. I'm going to become a doctor and I'm going to buy a BMW M3. Like that, that's how I thought. And my life revolves around cars, by the way. So the whole reason I'm here today, the whole reason I started a business was because I wanted to buy a nice car. There was zero motivation else in that. I just wanted to buy a nice car. So I followed into the family tradition. I got into a great school. I got into a full scholarship. They were paying me every year to go to school. It was like a one-way ticket into any Ivy League med school program I would ever want to go to. It was brilliant. Yet, I was miserable. I really didn't like it. And to top it off, I got sick during those days. I got ill. Now, I found an interesting connection in my life. Every time I seem to be miserable, I land up in the hospital. Every time I'm unhappy with my professional life, my personal takes a dive. I wonder, is there a connection? So I get very ill. I decide and I learn at that time that I've been entrepreneurial since I was a kid. If I told you some of the things I did when I was a little kid, my parents are in the room. Some of the ways I tricked them out of cash and money, some of the cool stories I came up with, I got my dad to give me a blank check. And I wrote that check. I used to be creative. I was a salesman. I knew, and that's what I was. So when I wanted to make that switch, it was a tough battle. You're in this perfect situation, full scholarship, you've got everything set, you're not paying for college, everything's great, and then suddenly that one night you need to go to your parents and say, all right, so here's the deal. I know we got everything set up here, everything's great, and everything's perfect and hunky-dory. I want to leave all of that. You get to pay $20,000 a year for college, and I'm going to go over here and do this thing that nobody knows whether I'm going to be successful or not. Right? I was scared. I don't think my parents have ever heard me talk about this. I was scared of that conversation. I thought my parents would be like, you're crazy, you're not doing it. Turns out they were like, hey, that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. Go for it. Made the switch. Today I know why I felt so sick. I talk about these things called mind holes, right? I told you, you can force your mind to a certain degree, and you will see some success. But eventually it'll catch up. So I was forcing my mind to believe that I needed to be a doctor. And I was doing very well. I had a 4.0. I was very good at, all my classes. I used to study my butt off. Yet, before I knew it, I was falling deeper and deeper into this mind hole. And when it had an opportunity, it boiled out, and I paid the price for it. So I finally made some big changes. I became an entrepreneur. And I told you, last year of college, started seeing major success. And Will Smith said it best, and I really love this quote, and you'll hear me say it many times. There's almost an obsessive quality, a form of madness to succeeding. Okay? I'll give you I can't sleep at night. Okay? I'm not much of a sleeper. All right? So, I'll go to bed. And my wife will come and she'll go to bed and she'll pass out really quickly. She loves her sleep. I'm not a big sleeper. And I'll sit there and stare. And I'm envious. I'm jealous. I wish I could sleep. But about 20 minutes in, rather than sleeping, I'll sneak out of bed and I'll go to my computer and I'll start working. I enjoy it. I was in India recently. I was like bedridden for almost 2 weeks. I couldn't do anything. And the only thing I kept thinking of was, I want to work. I want to do, I have this, I have that. Not because I have to, but because I love to, right? There's a quote that was in that video you watched. That video was, I personally created that video along with a great videographer here, and I scripted, I took all the little bits and pieces I liked. There's a statement in that video that says, till the day I don't have to pay you a penny, or something like this, it's paraphrased. Till the day I don't have to pay you a penny to do what you do. Or the day I don't have to pay you a penny to do what you do, that's the day you'll be successful. That kind of passion behind what you do, that's what it takes. And I went on to take $100. I literally started with $100, and I turned it into millions. All right? And I thought I had mastered it, but guess what? Every day I pushed my mind. I visualized. I forced my mind. It wasn't anyone's fault. I misunderstood what I was learning. And it seemed to be working great. I was on top of the world. I mean, can you imagine a 25-year-old running a $10 million+ company with 80 employees, worldwide offices, traveling first class, speaking in front of stages of 2,000 people, walking into a hotel to speak and having security surround him, going through back entrances. I mean, I felt like a rock star. Life was good. But then suddenly, one day, it just absolutely... So here's why I thought I had it all mastered, right? I got wrapped up in the success, and I began to let go of my mind. I began to let go of that mind force habit, that daily habit I had of forcing my mind to believe certain things, of forcing myself upon my subconscious. I began to let go of it. So that was step number 1 of falling into my mind hole, right? So we want to create a system in our lives where we're not doing any of that, so that we're not at risk of all of this. And I grew blind to my own visions. I muted my mind. There was almost an ego battle happening, and no matter what, I refused to listen to my mind. Many times my mind was screaming at me and telling me, hey, there is something wrong. And I told it to shut up. I put it in the box, and I sat on the box, right? So this entire time, what I didn't realize is when you force your mind, when you sit on it and it's in the box, you're working uphill. Imagine a big ball and you're rolling it, pushing it uphill. And what I've learned since is that, wow, it doesn't have to be that way. It's actually really easy. You don't have to push anything. You just nudge that ball and that thing goes rolling down the hill. So that was the attack of the first mind hole. That's the problem with with forcing your mind is I got so wrapped up in so many weird things. It's the business side of it, the glamour of it. I lost control over everything. The person who had the person inside of me that had made me successful, the creative person, the risk taker, the guy who worked hard, the guy who wrote his sales messages himself, who learned new things every day, who went to conferences, who hustled to meet the next best person, to surround myself, that person disappeared. That person now started sitting in a first-class flight, traveling all over the place, not knowing what the heck he was doing. And soon enough, it caught up with me. So I'm gonna skip past a lot of this, but basically, when you force your mind, and the day you let go of that force, you've given your mind an amazing opportunity to come in and say, I told you so. And that is when, excuse my language, hell can break loose. If you've been shutting your subconscious up and you give it the opportunity to come back and say, I told you so, that is a tough battle to win back on. So, okay, I will talk about this. Basically, everything fell apart, okay? I fell into massive debt. I had to close my offices. I had to get rid of everything. I still remember till this day, emptying my offices, moving out. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I had built all of that up with my own hands. I had built some of the furniture up with my own hands. My money was gone. I was in debt. 90% of my employees had to be laid off, had to be released. And the last night, I remember in my office, I was sitting there and reflecting. And I was just kind of thinking, what went wrong? And I did this thing, which we're going to learn a lot about. I'm going to share it with you, I think Sunday morning. Right? I listed out my life on the whiteboard. I just put it on there, everything I could think of. The good, the bad, the obstacles, what's holding me back, what's helping me up. And put it back, and I sat there and I stared at it. I just stared at it for like a good hour. And that's when I had what I like to call my beautiful mind moment. Do you guys know the movie Beautiful Mind? Yeah? Where he can see the codes pop out, they display it really well in the film. I actually had this. Things started moving around in front of my eyes that were happening, and I started to say, oh my God, I totally get it. What the heck is wrong with me? Why did I let this happen? And I had a flight, within a day or two after that. It was a flight to India, and I sat on that flight, piece of paper and pen, only tools you need. and I re-architected my life from ground up using the very strategies you're going to learn starting today and through the rest of the weekend. I re-architected everything. When I landed, by the time I landed, I put it into action. Within 12 months, paid every penny back of my debt, was now in profit, and I couldn't remember the last time I was that happy. I used to wake up in the morning and just spring out of bed. Still do. I woke up this morning at 7 a.m. to make a 30-minute video to send out to my list. You know, that was by choice because I was looking forward to it. So that is my life today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all the little concepts. You're going to hear from me. I'm going to have 8 different sessions with you. And in those, I'm going to go through the Future of Wealth program. We are going to do some exercises together. Here's my challenge, request, and demand of you. Do the exercises. We take 5-minute breaks, do them. All right? And when you leave here, keep doing them. So I'm telling you, that plane ride that I took, you and I are going to take that plane ride together during this event. And you're going to do the very same things I did. And when you go home and put them into action, so by the end of this event, when I ask you what is your number one dream that you're working on right now, you're going to know the answer. When I ask you what is wealth, you're going to know the answer. When I ask you what your dreams are, you're going to know the answer. When I ask you exactly what you're going to do next week to help you achieve your dream for the next 7 days, you're going to know the answer. Is that not cool or what? Is that not powerful? Yeah? And that is what, that's what this system is about. It's about having answers. It's about knowing what's next. And when you know what's next, your subconscious voice doesn't need to interfere. It just doesn't need to, one way or the other. So think about this. Think about when you're hungry, okay? You're hungry right now, like actually hungry, like for food. Let's say, like I'm hungry right now. I'll tell you right now. So I have this thing. When I speak, I don't eat the whole day. I don't know where it comes from, but I have a good feeling. I witnessed a speaker in Las Vegas many years ago who had to take an emergency break off a stage, and I think that traumatized me. So since then, I don't eat. All right. So I haven't had anything all day. I've had a bowl of soup. Even that I had half of, and then I got a Cliff Bar in the back. So I'm hungry right now. I want a bacon cheese hamburger with a side of French fries and a Pepsi. I don't want to share it. I want the whole damn thing, and I want to be left in the corner and nobody talk to me when I eat my bacon cheese hamburger. So guess what? When I step off this stage and we're done, what am I going to get? Now imagine for a minute I said, I'm hungry. And I stared at my team and I said, I'm hungry, guys. And they're like, well, what would you like? I'm like, I'm hungry. And they're like, seriously, dude, what do you want to eat? I'm like, I'm hungry. And eventually the team's going to be like, screw off, man. We got things to do. What do you want? Well, this is what you do with your brain every single day. I want to be rich. Really? Why? I don't know. I want to be rich. What are you going to do with it? Buy things. Like what? Cool things. Like what? Nice things. Like what? Expensive things. Come on. You know? The brain's sitting there saying, please, just give me some specifics. Give me something to work with here. So you need to find your bacon cheese hamburger in your life. Right? So that's where the hunger. What do you want? Do you understand how simple of a question that is? That people cannot answer? What do you want? You know, ask me what I want. We started a nonprofit. Ask me what my goals are from the nonprofit. I'll tell you in a heartbeat. Okay? Ask me what car I want to buy next. I'll tell you in a heartbeat. You know, ask me where my next event is, how many people are going to be there, and what the topic is going to be. I'll tell you in a heartbeat. Ask me what 2015, what are my main goals in my business? What would I like to see change? I'll tell you in a heartbeat. And it's not like I sit there all the time planning all this stuff. This stuff happens. All right? We have a joke inside our company, and it comes true every single time, and my team is there, and they'll back me up on it. We had a meeting about 2 months ago, right after the first mentorship event we did. We had a meeting the next day, and the whole team was like ready to like basically riot. They were like, we need help, and blah, 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 and we can't take this. I mean, it's too much work. I said, all right, you know, we have had this fortune in our company. For me, any single time I have wanted somebody or a particular position, I just got to put, I know it sounds kooky, I got to put it out there. This is what I want. This person who looks like this, this is what I want. No matter how complicated that position seems. And I don't understand how I do it, and it still gives me the heebie-jeebies when I think about it. But that person just appears within 2 days. Boom. Right? So I kept going around. The team was like, well, we want this kind of... I said, just describe this person to me. What are they going to do? And I think Meredith said, well, the person looks like me, and they're like me, and they do everything like me, and it's like another me. And I'm like, well, that's pretty specific. Okay. Like, I can go with that. And then I went out and I said, I need someone to help me with my affiliates, but it's a hard position. They've got to have an understanding of this and of that and of this and of that. But, okay, if I don't find the person, it's okay. I'll wait, but this is the person I want. Here's what happens. Within, I think it was like 24 hours of that, literally, I went home from the event. I went home, and I'm checking my email, and I have an email, and I probably should not put this on video. I'll get in trouble for this, but I'll delete it later. I had an email from a certain company doing a reference check on a particular person who's a very good friend of mine, who, by the way, is perfect for the position I was talking about. And I thought, I didn't know this guy's looking for a job. So, of course, I immediately called him, and I said, you didn't tell me you're looking for a job. He's like, I told you 2 weeks ago. You never listened to me. I said, oh, well, can I hire you? And he's like, sure. Day later, job filled. Went to Meredith, said, Meredith, who are you looking for? Put it out there. Right? So she did. I didn't know. I didn't even know she had, actually. I forgot because I was in India. I was traveling. I was busy. I get a raving message from her one day. She's, I found her. I found her. I found her. I'm like, who? She's like, I found a duplicate of me. I'm like, that's awesome. But the power of specific, just be specific. What do you want? Right? When you're specific with what you want, it enables belief because it provides structure. Your mind is a very logical and structural being. It needs to understand. When you say, I need to hire someone, that is too general. Your mind cannot believe you because it doesn't understand. When you want to be wealthy, you say, I want to be rich, your mind doesn't understand. When you say, I want $10 million, your mind says, it may not agree with you, but it says, oh, okay, well, you want $10 million. Right? That's a first step to belief. And then let me talk about recipes. This is one of my favorite things. An example I gave once, and I'll give again here, is, so you want to come to my house. I call you and I tell you, sure. Well, I live off of, Blueberry Court. My address is 1984 Blueberry Court. That's not my address. Please don't show up at that house. I don't know whose it is. But whatever the address is, 194 Blueberry Court. And I call you, and let's say you live across the country. And I'm like, all right, see you tomorrow. And you're like, and let's imagine we don't have navigation, we don't have maps, we don't have anything. You're going to be like, hello? How do I get there? I don't know the place. So we need directions. Tomorrow I call you and I say, make me turkey meatballs. And you have no idea how to make turkey meatballs. And I'm like, see ya in 30 minutes. I'm enjoying my turkey meatballs. Now all of a sudden when you have a recipe, it's like, okay, 3 of this, 4 of that, 5 of this, 6 of that. So if you have a recipe in front of you and all the ingredients, are you going to panic if I ask for turkey meatballs? Probably not. But if you have none of that and you know I'm coming in 30 minutes and I want turkey meatballs, you're going to have a little bit of a panic attack. That is what we look for in our life. We need to create recipes, and the program that I'm going to put you through on Sunday morning is exactly that. You're going to walk away with it. Remember I said you'll know what you're doing over the next 7 days? That's the recipe part. So let me ask you a question right now. Number one question to ask, and be honest with yourself. I'm not going to call you out. Do you really believe in the things you dream about? Genuinely deep down. Are you that arrogant child who thinks Mark Cuban is intimidated by him? Are you? Right now, every single person, close your eyes for a second. Pick one dream, any dream you have. Okay? Close your eyes. Think of one dream you currently have. Do you really believe that it's possible? Okay? I'm not saying yes, no. I'm not calling you out. Ask yourself, if you said no, it's okay. By the end of the session, by the end of this weekend, you are. Your mind doesn't care for elevators. It cares for stairs. And when we jump straight to the end goal and push it and force it upon our mind, we're shoving our mind onto an elevator. It doesn't care for it. It doesn't understand the mechanics of an elevator. It just doesn't understand how you got from ground floor to 12th floor. It doesn't. Steps, it does. One step, then 2 steps. We've got to learn to take everything you do in your life, all your goals, all your dreams, everything you're trying to achieve, and convert them from elevators over to steps. The greatest enemy your mind has is overwhelming, the feeling of overwhelmment. Do you know why we're not wealthy? It's because we get overwhelmed thinking about how to become wealthy. Why does Bob Proctor break down $1 million? Because 1 million sounds overwhelming, but when he said 112, was it 112 I think he said? $112, man, we spend more than that on dinner. That's not overwhelming. So we have to, staircases help us eliminate the feeling of being overwhelmed. And so that's what our mind prefers. Number 2, I said recipes, right? I already talked about this. You've got to learn to make your life into a set of recipes, a set of directions that are step by step that tell you exactly what to do. When I am working with our mentorship students, the first thing I do is I keep them focused. All right? I think you guys will all remember when we first met, I said, you are going to want to ask me 1,800 questions, and I am not going to answer 1,799 of them. Not because I don't want to, but because it's not relevant. You know, one of my favorite questions, I'll never forget this. I had a question from someone who wanted, he had paid me a lot of money to consult him. And this person said to me, they wanted to start making, his goal was to start making like, I think $100,000 a month. He wasn't making anything, but that was a goal he had. Okay. And we were doing a session, we were coaching, and he stops me in the middle and he says, we were talking about like paid advertising and blah, blah, blah. And he stops me and goes, wait, so when I'm making $100,000 a month, then what am I going to buy? Where would I be advertising? And I just wanted to throw my water bottle at his head. I was like, you're paying me hourly. This is a waste of your time. Why don't we talk about this when we hit that? But we do this all the time. In our own lives, we do this all the time. So let's focus on the key things. When you have a recipe, it says, put in 2 teaspoons of salt. Do you sit there and wonder what's going to happen? When the turkey meatballs come out of the oven, how are you going to take them and put them into the pan? No, you take out a teaspoon and you put 2 teaspoons of salt. That's what we're going to do right now. 2 critical parts of wealth, to wealth, knowing exactly what you want. We're going to do that starting tonight into tomorrow. We're going to do it through 2 different things, core values and dream boards, very critical. And the second thing is having a recipe for what you want. And that is going to be done through something called the PEG method, which I'm going to share with you on Sunday. If I were to tell you that when I lost everything, now $1.7 million in debt, and had a massive debacle in my life, what if I told you that what I'm about to share with you in the next, apparently 16 minutes, according to this countdown, what if I told you that in the next 60 minutes, what I'm about to share with you, had I understood and learned that I could have avoided all of it? All of it. And today I wouldn't have a great story and wouldn't have all this stuff to teach you, but I could have avoided all of it. So what I'm about to share with you is very important. It's the core foundation of everything we're going to do, so please take it very, very seriously. So it's the power of knowing yourself, okay? The simple exercises we're going to go through change lives, could have saved mine. So where did I learn about the concept of core values? Material dreams are useless till you architect a dream, what drives you and what defines you. I have my dream card today because there was 15 other things I did before it. Those 15 things are what defined me, and had I not done them, the car would not mean anything to me. And subconsciously, at some point, I would look at my car always with something really bad. And that bad would eventually boil into something even worse. So first, you have to know who you are. What defines you? And everybody is different. Every single person is different. And there's no right answer. Everybody feels like when I ask, hey, who are you? I get the joke. I want to help people. I want to do this. And I want to, okay, fine. I'm sure you do. But let's be real with one another. What defines me? I'll tell you what defines me. I have a nonprofit. I want to build schools all over the world. I want to do good things. I want to live a life. I want to be wealthy. I want to be rich. I want to be a billionaire. I want to travel on a private plane, especially after Bob spoke today. By the way, so the funny story about that, side note, I've been noticing Bob flying on a private plane, and I've been kind of tracking it. And so the other day I was talking to his son, and I was like, so, what kind of money does it take for a man to, travel like that? And then he came back with a number, and I was like, okay, got to get to work. But before I can, do all of that, what defines me, if I had to put in just one, living life for experiences. That's what makes me feel alive. Right now, to this very moment, if you guys ask me how much money I have in my bank account, I don't have the slightest clue. I actually would probably be within 20-30% of the actual number. I don't log in. I took pictures of you of my income proofs or whatever just to kind of make a point. I don't log in. The only time I panic is when I see an email from a guy named Rich Ruggiero, who is my CFO, and if in the email subject line it says urgent, I immediately hide underneath my desk. It's like a conditional training from the past when I used to send me emails saying, need 80 grand, need 150 grand. Nowadays he doesn't, but sometimes as a joke he'll send them to me. It still gets the same reaction. But what defines you, it doesn't have to be one thing, it can be a few things, but when you know those few things, you're saving yourself from a potential of a lot of heartache, and you're making the process of becoming successful so much easier. All right, so Mr. Tony Hsieh. How many guys know who Tony Hsieh is? Raise your hand if you know who Tony Hsieh is. Oh, wow, okay, so not that many people know. Great, well Tony Hsieh is the CEO and founder of a company called Zappos that was sold to Amazon for over $1 billion. Now, Tony was also the founder and CEO of a company called Link Exchange, where one of my own mentors was one of the major VPs. He knew Tony very well because he helped build Link Exchange. That company was sold to Microsoft for a bunch of money. Tony is really wealthy. Now Tony has taken a lot of money, and he basically owns half of Las Vegas, like literally Old Town Vegas. He's re-architecting it. He is lovingly and jokingly called the mayor of downtown Vegas. Everything he does is bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, I went to his office and met with him and hung out with him for a whole day. Really nice guy, just like you wouldn't think, this guy is running a multi-billion-dollar company. He's so nice. And we're talking, and he starts asking me all these questions about my company that I didn't really think about. And he gave me this advice, and he said, you've really got to know the core values of your company. And I was like, what the hell is that? Who cares? Right? And he sat for hours and hours explaining this to me, and we went through exercises, and I thought, okay, I'll do this for fun. It sounds like a really cool team-building exercise. And the process of doing it was profound. What we discovered about our company and about ourselves, it was amazing. It turned into a war zone in the company, by the way. Some people are like, no, that's not our core values, this. And you start to see people and who they are and what they want and what they expect and how passionate they are about the company. So I sat and I thought, hey, what if I do this for myself? What we're doing for the company, what if I do this for myself? So I said, all right, let me try it. And I did this exercise. And it was amazing what I came to learn. So one of the things, I never understood, the way you project yourself, by the way, remember what Bob said, what you are on the inside is what you're projecting on the outside? That's how he was, I think he was bothering you. Yeah, he was bothering you, yeah. I would have been freaking out, by the way. If he came up to me, I would have run out the room. I don't need him publicly displaying who I am. He probably would be dead on. So, but he's right, And so when I did this exercise, I was shocked to come to learn that a lot of people, because part of the exercise, and I'll share the steps of the exercise and we'll do them, part of the exercise is reaching out to others around you who know you and from different environments and asking them to tell you who you are. And live life for the experiences kept coming out. And I looked at it and it made me feel good. I was like, yeah. But I couldn't believe that that's what I was projecting. That was true. That was really, and I realized, and it was this moment of epiphany, and I realized that the reason my business was falling apart was because I was so wrapped up in this management and dealing with, financial crises and always trying to raise. I had lost my freedom. I couldn't stand in front of you and say, hey, in August, I'm going to be getting a pilot's license. I didn't have time for that stuff. right? But that wasn't the real reason my company fell apart. We'll get into, well, yeah, actually it was a big part of it, but I'll get into the details of that in a second. So I did this exercise, and I went on to learn. The other thing someone said to me was, not someone, a few people came back and said, money is number one. And I was like, no, it's not. I don't believe that. I told you right now, I don't even know how much money I have. And I didn't know back then, I don't check. But why do people think that? What am I doing to project that? And is that what I really want to project? I mean, if it is number one, it's fine if that's your core value, but it wasn't for me. I didn't want that to be my core value. So I was able to dive deeper into it and figure out the things I was doing. You know why? It was because my friends felt neglected. It was because I wasn't hanging out with them. It wasn't because I wasn't seeing them. I wasn't showing up to their birthday parties. I wasn't showing up to spend Christmas with them. You know, I was taking 4 days to respond to their emails, 6 days to respond to their text messages. Obviously, and I didn't mean it. I was just busy. I thought it was okay. But I quickly learned they think I'm putting them as second priority. And they were right, I was, until I had a chance to then fix that. So discovering yourself is going to save you from a big thing. There is a dream on your dream board. Every single one of you have at least one dream. I promise you, I would be willing to bet anything you want. That is a sabotaging dream. It'll ruin you. Is that not scary or what? Did I just shake the ground underneath your chair? Seriously, I would venture to challenge you, if you wrote down your dreams, there's one in there that could destroy you. You think it's a dream, but it directly conflicts with one of your core values. And I'm telling you right now, those are two things that can never conflict. The day they do, and you start going after that dream, you are in for a really tough time. Mine was that I had on my dream board, for some reason, that I wanted to build a company of 1,000 employees. That was really weird. Not revenue, not profitability, just 1,000 employees. That in those days, it was the glamour of it. You know, to be CEO, to be, carted off by security, fly private planes and do all this and be important and be on Fortune magazine and on CNN. And I didn't understand what it comes with. It directly conflicted with my live life further experiences. Because when you have 1,000 employees, you got problems that you're dealing with all the time. I had 82. And I would have to step into people saying, he said my mom is this, and I can't believe he misspoke about my mother, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I was sitting in the middle of it saying, oh my God, are you guys kidding me? I dealt with some of the I dealt with everything from little fights to big issues to financial crisis to being able to pay salaries or not. That's what my day got taken up. I got to a point where I was avoiding emails. I was disappearing from work for a month to 2 months at a time. I was in India once, and I distinctly remember after a failed product launch, I ran to Goa for 2 weeks and hid. Turned my phone off. You couldn't reach me. I would keep it on every now and then, but I wouldn't respond to emails, and I drank. This is reality. This happened, and parents probably don't even know this, and I'm openly talking about it now. I drank. Because I hated what I had become. I hated my life, these problems, these issues. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to be the guy that woke up in the morning and did whatever the hell he wants. That's freedom. I don't care about financial freedom. I just want freedom to do whatever the hell I want. When I wake up, I'm the boss. This morning, I woke up at 7 a.m. because I wanted to, not because I had to. All right? I'm at this event, standing on this podium speaking to you because I want to, not because I have to. Anything I'm doing right now in my life is because I want to, not because I have to. In those days, everything I was doing in my life was because I had to and didn't want to. And so right now, think about your life, how much of it, and write this down on a piece of paper, okay? Do this exercise. Think about it for about 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Write down a percentage. What percentage of your life is currently what you have to do but don't want to do? Does the distinction make sense, by the way? Yes? So this number, It's yours. It's for you to know. Keep it with you. Does anyone want to shout out their number? Who wants? Yeah, sorry. So to clarify, how much of your day are you currently living based on what you have to do, not necessarily what you want to do? Excellent. But I'm hearing 50. I heard a lot of 90s, 80s, 70s. So for some of you who are up at the 80s, 90s, and 70s, I mean, that sucks, right? That's a constant source of pain. It's a constant source of annoying. It's an annoyance all the time. Been there, done that. Trust me. Get down to the 5 and 10 or 0. I think right now, I'm genuinely telling you this. I'm thinking through my life right now. I'm at a 0. I can't remember the last time I did anything because I had to and didn't want to. I mean, it's been a long time. That's what you want to get to. So that conflict, you got to get rid of it. So in order to get rid of it, you got to know your core values, right? So discovering your core values. The following 2 exercises have had the largest impact in my life, above and beyond any personal development exercise I've ever done. Write down your own. What do you think? Write down 5, 6, 7, up to you. Core values, I'll tell you, things like loyalty, living life for the experiences, giving back, family, things like that. What drives you? What do you wake up in the morning and just what makes you leap out of bed? And so this exercise alone, we actually made everybody in the company do this exercise individually because I learned a lot about them, tons about them. All right, the second exercise we can't really do right now, but I'll count on you to do it. Remember you said you promised you would take action when you went home, you would do things. This is one of those things I would really want you to do. When I say ask a neighbor, don't literally go to your neighbor. I meant ask somebody in your life. What I like to do is pick people who know me from different angles. 3 people professionally, 3 people maybe from family, 3 people from my friends. Because they all see different sides of you. And what you're really looking for is a crossover, because that's the real you. Right? Now with me, I'm pretty much the same professionally as I am personally because I have the liberty to do that, right? I'm my own boss, I do my own thing, I do what I want when I want. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people, you go to work, you immediately to become a different person. You walk out, yeah, right? You know people like that. I have friends like that I've seen at their work environment. I'm like, wow, that's you? And then personally, they're a completely different person. So try to ask at least 3 people, and all you do, you can do it via email if you're embarrassed. This is, I've found to be an exercise a lot of people would tend to just skip on over. A lot of people do this. They're like, no, I wrote my 5 down, I'm good. The most important part of this exercise is asking other people. Because your 5 may not be actually what you're showing the world. It may not be what you're actually, enacting. And that's really important that you know that. So I really challenge you. I did this exercise through email. It worked brilliantly. I even did it through text message when I first did it. And I learned so much. So pick a few people, ask them, tell them, I'm a part of this program, and the stupid a-hole who runs it has asked me to do this dumb exercise. Could you please help me? He won't let me move past it unless I do. So, just respond. Tell me what 5 core values, things that you think I represent, things that you think drive me, right? And let's just see what they say. And what you want to do is cross them, and from there, I'll tell you what, you'll know what to do. When you see what they've said and you see what you've written, you're going to immediately have 5 that pop out, and you're going to immediately know the things you need to change in your life about the way you project yourself. All right? Every decision should be and is driven by your core values. I made a joke, but I don't know sometimes if I'm really joking or if this is the truth. What you put on in the morning, or as Bob would say, which leg goes first into your underwear, should be driven by your core values. I mean, that's how important core values are. Since I put this exercise into play, there are so many projects that I've said no to professionally. Integrity is one of those things that's on my core value list. Making money online can take you down a path sometimes where there's easy money while doing something you know deep down you shouldn't. My core values have helped me say no. And what's ended up happening is that same time commitment, I've been able to commit to a different project and made twice as much. Or whatever that project was, it fell. It was a big debacle. So my core values have really, really, really driven what the decisions I've made. And today, that's why I wake up happy. Because I love who I am. I know who I am. I can stand in front of you and say I'm a good person, I'm a happy person, I'm a fulfilled person. You know, even at the age of 31, I've got my whole life ahead of me, but right now, if I were to die tomorrow, man, I did it all. I lived a good life. And that's what we're trying to get to. But when you align with your core values, that's where you'll get. You know, if I know I can do it, why do it? Why don't I do something that I'm not so sure about that's going to push me to the next level? So in this situation, when people look at you a little bit strangely, you know what that tells you? You're doing something that's out of the convention. You're doing something that's out of the yellow. Remember that yellow he said, the conventional way of education? You're doing something in the white. You're doing something that they don't understand. That means you're probably doing something right. So this is an exercise I really want you to do. I challenge you, go upstairs right now when you go to your rooms, when you take some time, boom, send out 2-3 emails. You don't have to send out 10, you don't have to send out 15. 2-3, Skype, email, Facebook, text. I mean, we have so many ways of messaging people. And that alone will be action. You do that and you are reinforcing to your mind right now that I'm putting my foot down and I'm making the change. And your mind knows it's coming along for the ride. There's nothing else it can do. Just that little bit, if you did. Just that little bit. All right? Any burning questions? I've got 23 seconds on the countdown. It's a long day. A lot of you guys have traveled really far. Give yourselves a round of applause for sitting here this late. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to The Fighting Entrepreneur with your host, Anik Singal.